Hello, Colts fans. So, the other day, I gave my first impressions of how the Colts performed against the Jaguars. But today, I want to look at some data from PFF, from their premium stats, to get a more objective picture about what happened. All right, so here go our week one stats and grades with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, to no one's surprise, the run game was the worst, and to my surprise, our run defense was really good. So, let's move on to the offense. Overall, we will see that Bernhard Ryman was our best performer on offense, which is really good. It means that, the work that he put in this offseason is paying off. And to no one's surprise, Deion Jackson was abysmal in the game against Jacksonville. When we look at pass blocking, we will see that Ryan Kelly had a good game, which is good to see because for the past 3 years, 2 to 3 years, he hasn't been great. I know he had a lot of personal issues going on, but it's good to see that he's making a comeback and that his grade is looking much better than it has in previous years. Um, Not to my surprise is Will Fries uh, being the worst offensive lineman when it comes to pretty much pass blocking and run blocking. Um, so when we do go to run blocking, the money that we're paying this team for them to have, average or slightly above average grades is just really sad. I really don't have too much to say about this. Um, you know, Once again, I see Will Fries at the bottom. Um, Bernhard is there, but as a left tackle or as a tackle, I'm way more concerned about his blocking. And with him being, the best graded player on offense, plus really putting on a good performance with pass blocking. Um, Not ecstatic about that grade, but it's nothing that I'm super concerned about when it comes to a second year player in week one. So moving on to uh, Anthony Richardson. So when we look at his stats, really um, the biggest thing that stands out to me is that outside right and outside left at between 10 and 20 plus yards, he was really unable to make any connection. He looked really good in the middle, um, especially here. But, you know, week one, year one, not too shabby. Another thing probably worth pointing out, uh, they talk about the types of pressure and how he performed under them. And it's really good to see that his completion percentage was, uh, you know, solid. It wasn't what it was under pressure, and it's more important that a player is throwing well when kept clean. It's a better indicator about that player. Um, he only had one turnover worthy play, which is good. And when you adjust his completion percentage after you take away wide receiver mistakes and drops, is a 77.8, which is really good for a player that they said didn't know how to throw in college. When you compare that by position, looking at everyone else, and you look at his adjusted completion percentage, he falls number 15, which isn't too shabby at, once again, 75.8. Um, when here goes some just additional numbers if you guys would like to see those. There's nothing I particularly want to point out. We can see from the chart that his average depth of target wasn't too much. So let's move on to receiving. So when we look at the versus all defender stats, we can see that Michael Pittman Jr. was by far the best receiver against the Jaguars. He had the most receptions. He had the most yards. He tied with converting first downs, and he was the only one to get a touchdown. I think that the person that people talk with the most concern on social media is Alec Pierce. I don't know what's going on, if he's just not getting separation or just the scheming didn't get him open. But hopefully his numbers improve. So let's take a look now at the defense. So looking at the overall defensive grades, I was really happy to see that we had 4 elite grades, which I'm surprised people aren't talking more about. What I was even more ecstatic about was the fact that EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin had elite coverage grades. When Bobby O left, I was concerned about our ability to cover, especially in the middle of the field, because EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin weren't very strong with that last year. With Zaire Franklin, missing tackles was a big issue for him last year, and that trend seems to be continuing this year with 3 missed tackles. Hopefully he can clean up his tackling game. I mean, despite, his missed tackles, even when he, misses a tackle, he's still very disruptive, and he creates problems for the offense, which is reflected by his tackles that constitute as a failure for the offense, which is sky high. So, if he were to clean up these tackles, he would be even more impactful with his abilities. Looking at the pass rush, Kwity Paye is just someone that, year 3 I was hoping that he would have much stronger grades than average. He's always looking like a better run defender than a pass rusher. And, you really don't draft someone as early as we drafted him just to be good at setting the edge. When we look at his pass rush win rate, it really hurts to see Danico Autry so strong, by the way, with a 26%. That's so beautiful. But when we look for Kwity Paye, we will find him at 32 with 8.7. So, hopefully as the year goes on, that improves. Now, I had thought that Sampson had a stronger game than the stats indicated, but I thought he looked really good when I was watching the game, but his stats indicated that he was kind of mid. So hopefully that improves as well. When we look at coverage grades for our corners, to no surprise, it doesn't look too spectacular, but we're kind of working with what we got when it comes to the secondary. When we look at the coverage with the secondary versus all defenders, here goes some of the numbers. I really don't have too much to say about this that I haven't already. I'm really impressed with what EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin did, and I'm not really surprised what's going on with our cornerbacks. They're average. We're still trying to work on, improving our secondary, and hopefully these guys can continue to give average to above average play throughout the season and keep us in games. So that's all I have for this week in the PFF stats. Let me know if there are any other stats or anything you'd like to look at in future videos. Thank you for your time and have a good week.